Who won the WNBA draft, and can Paige Bueckers live up to the Caitlin Clark-like hype after going #1 to the Dallas Wings? Let's talk all things W with our women's sports reporter for the Post, Madeline Kenney. Madeline, you know what? We could just skip talking about the draft and let's just talk about Paige Bueckers' after party. After that, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. I did not make it to the after party. I love my bed too much, so I,
Okay.
I went home after the draft.
And our bosses are watching this, so you didn't make it. Wink, wink here. All right, so let's
I had
talk.
a lot of work to do, so I had to do all the work.
Work comes first. Work now, play later. All right, let's talk about some work because Paige Bueckers put in some work at UConn, and because of that,
Mhm.
she went #1 to the Dallas Wings. I think we all kind of expected that. But let's talk about the expectation now. The Wings are coming off of one of the franchise's worst seasons, but new GM, new head coach, pretty much brand new team. You feel like she's facing the Caitlin Clark-like expectations to turn that franchise around in her first WNBA season.
I think so in a lot of ways. Like nobody's going to look at Dallas and say that they're a title contender this season, but I think getting back to the playoffs is a really realistic expectation for that team, especially with some of the offseason moves that they made. Obviously, losing Satu hurts, but they brought in a lot of really good talent in. I think her and Enrique in the backcourt are going to be extremely hard to defend and stop, just with both of them being natural scorers and their ability to score at all three levels and stuff like that. So I think that there are expectations there for Paige. And I think the thing to also keep in mind is that Dallas is in like a total, not a rebuild, but necessarily, but they're like rebranding themselves.
Yeah.
They're creating this new practice facility. They're upgrading their player experiences. That was all top priorities. And Paige said that when she spoke to them in their pre-draft conversations, while those were brief, she did make a point to say that, there is a new standard that is being set for the Dallas Wings.
And you can tell that because there are hundreds of people at the watch party waiting to
Mhm.
see Paige be selected. So you can tell there's a lot of hype. There's a lot of excitement of her coming down to Dallas. And again, brand new everything. So she kind of gets to write her own story when it comes to coming into the league. A lot of people are talking about how her unrivaled deal money is going to exceed her entire WNBA rookie deal. I love the league, love how it gives athletes an opportunity to stay here in the States and not go play overseas. But do you think that the unrivaled league could kind of end up as a conflict of interest to the W in the future?
I don't think it's a conflict of interest. I think it's more putting pressure on the WNBA.
Mm.
And that was kind of the goal in a lot of ways, with creating Unrivaled and creating the player experience that they had, giving them state-of-the-art training facilities, all access to massage therapists, everything that a player needed, they had in that Miami bubble, basically. And so I think the salaries that the players are getting, they trump what they're making in the WNBA, and the WNBA sees that. I asked Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA commissioner, last night about Paige's salary being better in year one of Unrivaled, a 10-week league, versus what she's going to make right now under the current CBA over the course of her 4-year rookie deal. And Kathy kind of, said that it's different to create a salary pool for, they only have so many players, and the WNBA has 144. Plus, now you have the Golden State Valkyries who have another 12 spots and going to add 24 spots next year with the two other expansion franchises. So there's a lot more players at play that they're trying to scrap up money for. But I think Unrivaled, the timing of Paige's contract terms coming out on the eve of the draft was not by accident. I think that that was kind of an orchestrated plan. And in a lot of ways, just to continue to put pressure on the WNBA, especially with negotiation talks with the new CBA, that is because the current one is set to expire after this season.
And the fact that people wanting the WNBA players to get paid more has been such a hot topic. So
Mhm.
yeah, again, I agree with you. Could have been strategic, but well played, on their end. Another storyline coming out of the draft was Sedona Prince, the star out of TCU, was kind of projected to go as high as late first round, but she didn't hear her name called at all. We both know she's facing some serious sexual assault allegations, but she hasn't been formally charged with any crime or crimes. Do you think that there's a chance that she's going to land with the team?
I think it's really complicated. In talking to people around the league, there was a lot of different ways to look about it. If you're looking purely at it as a basketball standpoint, sure, she would be a talented player in the WNBA. She'd be one of the tallest players in the league, standing at 6'7". But I think there's also teams look at, values, and they look at what kind of reputation do they want to have. Players in a lot of ways represent a franchise beyond just the way that they play basketball. And so I think those were all kind of nuanced conversations that were happening. Whether or not she'll land in the league, I think only time will tell. There's definitely opportunities for her to sign either a training camp contract or even to go overseas and play in Europe for a few years. But I do think that you can't talk about Sedona without talking about the serious allegations that are out there against her and regarding her. And so I think that those were all kind of conversations that had to be had.
We could talk storylines all day because there's just plenty of them coming out of the draft. But let's talk about the actual draft itself. In your opinion, who won the draft?
I mean, I know this is like the obvious answer, but in a lot of ways, Dallas, just because they now have, that core piece to go with Enrique, and I'm talking about Paige, obviously, and just even some of their other draft picks that they made throughout the night. I think Dallas has a really strong foundation to continue to build and go in the direction that they want to go. I think also Seattle Storm getting Dominique Malagna. I mean, a lot of people think that she can be. She's a French player. She's only 19, but seeing some of her film, even at the age of 14, what she's doing. I mean, people call her the woman version of Victor Wembanyama. So, I think seeing how she develops over the next several years is going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. If she is as good as people project that she can be, that they got just another generational player in her.
Wemby and the French taking over the NBA. Now the French taking over the WNBA because she wasn't the only French star selected in the draft. The Liberty picked up center, I hope I say her name right, Aja Kane, with the final
Hmm.
selection of this year's draft. If it was the NFL draft, she'd be called Mr. Irrelevant. She's 6'3", 20-year-old. She can hoop, but she's not going to be in training camp with the Liberty. Two-part question, why won't she? And why are they so hyped over this pick?
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to look at the Liberty where they stand right now. They're in win now mode. Their championship window is open. And so they drafted her as a draft and stash type of player. They want her to continue to develop in, France, playing with the team that she's currently playing for. They feel really good about the organization that she's with and how they're going to be able to hone her skills and everything. And so that allows Liberty to have some cushion for the future. And then also looking ahead at this season, the reason why she's not going to be in training camp is because the Liberty want to win now. They don't want to take on a project of a player that they're going to have to develop. And having a player that is 20 years old and still, growing her game isn't going to fit in a championship mold. And so I think a lot of the Liberties, it was a very tactical move. Trading their first round pick to get Natasha Cloud, that signaled exactly what I'm saying right now, what they're trying to do, and that's win. And so I think in the grand scheme of things in the future, Kane can be a player that comes in a few years from now and be a positive contributor, maybe even a player that earns her way into the starting lineup. But for right now, they want to win championships. And with 2026 on the horizon and that free agency explosion that we're about to experience, who's to say the window is going to be open beyond this season? Obviously, that's the hope, but a lot of players are going to be on expiring contracts after this year.
Well, if they got a chance to repeat it this year, training camp is right around the corner. So I'm sure we'll be talking to you really soon, Madeline. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Thank you so much for having me.